Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege of Parshas Shoftim. And in this parsha, like so many of the other parshas of Dvar Moshe Rabbeinu, gives us tremendous chizuk. And I know I say this every week because I'm overwhelmed by it. Moshe Rabbeinu stands by the banks of the Jordan River, able to see Eretz Yisrael, but knowing that he's never going to have the opportunity to go in. And one could have easily thought that Moshe Rabbeinu would have been consumed by sadness, by despair, bitterness, maybe even anger at Klal Yisrael, but yet he uses these final moments together with his beloved flock to give them chizuk, to give them strength, to give them hope, to give them optimism for the journey ahead. And in this week's parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu shares what appears to be a seemingly straightforward idea. Moshe Rabbeinu says in Parak Yud Ches Pasuk Yud Gimel, chapter 18, verse 13, Tamim tihya im Hashem Elokecha. Be tamim with Hashem. Now, often erroneously, tamim is defined as perfect. Be perfect with God. It can be that. Because Baruch Hu never demands perfection, because Baruch Hu created us. And he knows that if there's one thing we are incapable of achieving, it's perfection. And that's by design. Hashem didn't design us to be perfect. Malachim can be perfect. Angels can be perfect. Hashem, of course, is perfect. But there's no obligation of perfection on our part. That's not a necessity for mankind, and it's not attainable for man. Onkelos says, Tamim shlim te, be complete. But even that, what does it mean to be shlim? What does it mean to be complete? Does that mean to be without fault? To be without sin? Once again, impossible. And therefore, Rashi HaKadosh comes along and advances something truly amazing. Rashi says, Tamim tiyam Hashem Elokecha. He says, Hishalech imo b'timimos. Walk with HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a sense of timimos, utitzapalo, and wait for him. What does this mean? V'lo tachkar achar ha'asidos. Do not try to tell the future. Incredible. Now, to appreciate Rashi gleans his idea. He says, Ella, so what should you do if you shouldn't try to tell the future? Ella kama shiyava alecha kibel b'tmimos. Whatever comes your way in life, accept it with equanimity. So what does this mean? So Rashi HaKadosh is noting the juxtaposition of psukim, because in the section right beforehand, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Klal Yisrael, Ki ata bo el haaretz, asher Hashem Elokecha nosich lach. You're coming to a land that Hashem is giving you. Lo silmod lasos kitavas hagoyim hahem. Do not learn from the abominable behaviors of the nations who currently inhabit the land. And Moshe Rabbeinu then engages in a pretty intense discussion about avodah zarah, about idolatry. Don't engage in the avodah zarah of Molech, which was child sacrifice. Kosim, kisamim, ma'onein, menachesh, mechashev, chover, chaver, shov, yedoni. So again, so Moshe says essentially, don't emulate, don't replicate the practices of the nations who currently inhabit Canaan. They're abominable practices. Kitavas Hashem kol osa ela, because these are abominable practices, and therefore biglal tov osa ela, Hashem Elokecha morish osa mipanecha. And because of these abominable practices, the nations who currently inhabited Canaan are being ejected from the land, and you will come in and Emirat Hashem inherit it. So this just seems to be another prohibition against avodah zarah, which the Torah goes over. And remember, there's no shortage of times that the Torah warns us against engaging in idolatrous practices. But this is different, because if you look at these practices, these were types of sorcery, necromancy, divination that were focused on telling the future. These were practices that were designed because people thought somehow if you worship this God, engage in this practice, you'll be able to tell the future. And therefore, Rashi understands, right after Moshe Rabbeinu tells Klal Yisrael, don't engage in these practices, they're abominable, he says, Tamim ti Hashem Elokecha, be complete with Hashem, meaning, lo titzape, lo tachkar achar ha'asidos. Don't try to tell the future. And this is fascinating. Why does Moshe Rabbeinu have to warn us against this? And it's for a simple reason. Because more than anything, what I want to know is what the future holds. Chevra, every single day, maybe not even every single day, but certainly at many moments in life, we are called upon to make decisions. And I don't mean the daily decisions like, what do you want to eat for dinner? That's okay, good. Or where do you want to go on vacation? But I mean like big decisions in life. Big decisions. Or I'm at a crossroads and I have to decide right or left, this way, that way. And there are two mutually opposite, potentially two mutually different directions in life. And more than anything, I know I have to make that decision. So what do I want to know? Well, which one is going to be better? Which one is going to be good? I want to know the future. I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know if I choose path A, if I choose path B, what's going to occur. And therefore it makes total sense that by the nations of the world, they've come up with all of these different supposed mechanisms for being able to tell the future. Because who doesn't want a palm reading? Who doesn't want a tarot card reading, right? Who doesn't want a crystal ball that's going to be able to tell them what the future is? Because there are times in life when we have to make really big decisions. And those decisions are going to have impact. So I want to know which way is going to turn out better. And Moshe Rabbeinu says to us, so I know that more than anything, what you want is to be able to tell the future. But I have to tell you, you cannot tell the future. And that is by design. Because what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us in life is the ability to engage in courageous decision-making. And what's courageous decision-making? Courageous decision-making is when you do your best to gather all the intel possible, right? Because remember, I can't be reckless in my decision-making, but I do whatever I can to gather the information that I have at hand. And based on the intel, based on the information, I'm going to make a decision. But what's going to happen? Well, one of two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to be wrong and I'm going to fail, or I'm going to be right and I'm going to be successful. But either way, it's good. If I'm wrong and I fail, I'm going to learn tremendous life lessons from that failure. And I'm going to do better and build better next time. And if I'm successful, fantastic, mazel tov. Then Emirat Hashem, I'll build on those successes for my future. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu says is, I'm not telling you what the future is. Because, Chevra, this is the nature of the human condition. If you could have a crystal ball, then what's the point of life? If you could go to some type of necromancer or divination or sorcery and get your palm read and know exactly what's going to happen, then what's the point of life? HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in this world to engage in courageous decision-making. And courageous decision-making means I have to make a major decision and I do not know what the future is going to hold. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know what it's going to be. Again, person can't be reckless. I have to gather all the necessary intel, all the necessary information that I have at hand. But recognizing that as much information as you gather, as much intel as you gather, there is no guarantee for success. You may succeed, but you may also fail. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're good. You're good. If you fail, learn and do better next time. And if you succeed, you now have a foundation in Emirat Hashem to build even higher. Tamim tiyam Hashem lokecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Lo sachgar achar ha'asidos. Don't try to tell the future simply because you can't. I won't let you. I won't let you know what the future is. Ella, kol ma sheyavo alecha kabal b'tmimos. Whatever happens, accept with equanimity. What does it mean to accept with equanimity? I accept the fact that because I don't know what the future holds, I may fail and I may succeed. And if I fail, I accept that failure. We'll learn from it and we'll do better next time. And if I succeed, I now have a foundation to build even higher. Moshe Rabbeinu is giving us the keys to success. Because, Chavra, think about this. When we are faced with the ability, or I should say the opportunity, or the mandate to make a big life decision, what I want more than anything is I need to know. I need to know with certainty how it's going to pan out. And there are people like that. There are people who will not make a move unless they could be guaranteed of success. Well, generally, if you're not making a move unless you're guaranteed of success, you're really making very few moves in life. Because there's almost nothing in life where you could be guaranteed success. There's no life investment that you can make that has a guaranteed return. You know, there are, right? Like even in the world of financial instruments. Okay, I'll speak a little bit. I don't have a lot of chachma on this. So you can go ahead and you could get a secured return on investment. But generally, if it's guaranteed, it's going to be much lower. The bigger payouts, the bigger ROIs come where there's more risk. That's the way life works. There's no guaranteed future. There's nothing, no one who could ever tell you, choose this and I guarantee you this. Again, if you want a small return on investment in life, good. You want to make safe choices, you could get guaranteed futures. But Moshe Rabbeinu says, if you want big things out of life, if you have big dreams and big aspirations for yourself, then you have to get comfortable with not knowing how things are going to turn out. Then you have to get comfortable with knowing that no, you don't know what the future holds. Make good decisions, make informed decisions, but also be willing to live with risk, knowing that you may fail and you may succeed. Tamim tiyem Hashem Elokecha Zechlish Baruch Hu Moshe Rabbeinu encouraging us. Dream big, go big, even though you have no idea what the future holds. Dream big and go big, even though you have absolutely no idea how things are going to turn out. You know, there's a famous pearl of wisdom. Again, it might be Chazal, it might be Fleetwood Mac. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. And there's a profundity about that. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. A yid always has to be future focused. Right? I always have to think about what the future is going to hold. But if he gets so wrapped up in trying to figure out about what's going to happen, what's going to be, we speak about this all the time, then the only thing that's going to happen is analysis paralysis. If you need all the answers in life before you take dramatic life steps, if you need to know exactly what the future is going to hold before you make a dramatic decision, you're not going to make any dramatic decisions. You'll just be a hostage of analysis paralysis. If I need to know all the answers, if I need to know exactly how everything's going to fit, all the puzzle pieces of it going to before I take a step, then the only logical thing to do is not to take a step. The only logical thing to do is to be paralyzed. The only logical thing is to remain in a state of perpetual inaction. Because at the end of the day, we don't know the future. Because that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it. Because what Hashem wants more than anything from us in life is the ability to make courageous decisions without a guaranteed outcome. There's always one of two outcomes. I'll fail, or I'll succeed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, either way, you're good. If you fail, learn and do better next time. And if you succeed, mazel tov. Build on those successes. Continue to build on that. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu is telling us. You're going into a land now, you're embracing a next chapter of life where things are unscripted. You know, in the desert, everything is scripted. Everything is scripted. The man falls in the morning. The cloud is there by day. The fire is there by night. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you when to move and when to stay. Everything is scripted. And now, once you cross over that Jordan River, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Klal Yisrael, it's unscripted. No one's telling you what the future is. No one's telling you what the future is. So you have a choice. You could be one of those people who, if you don't have a clarity on exactly what the future is going to hold, I can't do anything. Okay, that's a decision. That's a decision to remain moored and mired in your present reality because you're too afraid to take a step forward. Or I could say, you know what? I'm going to gather the intel, gather the information, make the best decision I can in the moment right now, and embrace and lean into the uncertainty of the future. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know what's going to be. But here's what I know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does know what it's going to be. He's got my back. The great universal and cosmic choreographer loves me more than I could ever imagine. He's got my back. And there's one of two possibilities. I fail, and I'll learn and do better next time, or I'll succeed, and I'll continue to build. But I won't be held hostage. I won't be held back because of an unknown future. I'll be courageous enough to make my decisions, courageous enough to move myself forward and know that whatever the future holds, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's got me, and therefore I've got this. Tamim tia em Hashem Elokecha. Be courageous enough to make decisions for an unknown future. Be courageous enough to gather the intel, make informed decisions, and move yourself forward. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's got us, and we've got it as well. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos, a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh, and of course, a good Chodesh Elul.